Welcome to Meeple Mentor. I'm Jared, and we are about to play Cellulose, a plant cell biology game. Let's take a look. I'll show you how. Feel free to pause the video as needed to follow along with your copy of the game. My goal is this video can not only teach you to play, but can be shown at the game table to help set up and teach the game at your next game session. As part of that goal, I've added chapter timestamps in the description to the different sections of the tutorial to easily recap relevant rules for you. Also, my copy of the game uses the Kickstarter Deluxe upgraded components. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell below the video so you don't miss any of my latest content. Cellulose is a sequel to the successful cell biology game Cytosis, also from Genius Games. Using the worker placement game mechanism, players activate organelles in a plant cell to contribute to the health and function of the cell. Water is a needed but limited resource, as well as carbon dioxide, protein, and more. Produce carbohydrates to build the cell wall or activate powerful cards for points and improve your plant growth hormones to increase your income. The game is big, beautiful, scientifically accurate, and a lot of fun. Let's take a look now at how to set it up. Place the main game board in the center of the table with the right side up for your player count. Take a look at the lower right corner of the board for the player count. Next to the board, also lay out the plant board with the sprout side face up. Place the water level marker token at the starting space of the track at level 5. Depending on player count, place gray flasks on or near the central vacuole as a reward for majority control. In a 1 to 3 player game, use 1 flask. In a 4 to 5 player game, use 2. Create supply piles on the table of the various resources which are meant to be unlimited. There's multiplier tokens included as needed. You'll have water, carbon dioxide, proteins, growth hormones, carbohydrates, and ATP. Shuffle all the cell component cards into a deck and place it face down next to the game board. Reveal 4 face-up cards to the board on the indicated spaces. Each player should now choose a color to be from the 5 available, taking all the matching colored pieces. You'll have 3 action markers, or flasks, 1 health point token, a central vacuole marker, and 2 plant growth markers. In a 1 or 2 player game, those players also take 1 gray action marker to use. Everyone should place their health token at 0 on the health track, which are the points in this game. On the central vacuole track, place everyone's marker at the starting space. Lastly, on the plant board, everyone places their 2 plant growth markers at the starting spaces of both the shoot track and the root track. The last person who watered a plant gets to go first and takes the first player plant cell token. Turns always go clockwise from the start player. Other players gain a starting resource bonus. The second player gets 2 water, third player 3, fourth player 4, and fifth player 5 water. To help players keep track of the steps to take during the evening phase, the game includes 4 tokens as reminders. You can lay these out or hand them out so the steps are taken in order each round. With that, you're set up and ready to play. The game of Cellulose plays round after round until the cell wall is built, meaning all of the empty spaces of the wall track found in the middle of the board are filled in with carbohydrates. Players will get to take actions to gain carbohydrates and place them on the wall for the points shown. Additionally, 1 new carbohydrate gets added at the end of each round to help force the end of the game. Each round of the game plays through 3 phases: sunrise, daytime, and evening. On the game board's key area at the bottom right, there's some quick overviews of each of the phases to help you remember to do each one from round to round. You can also see the names of all the components and resources. In the sunrise phase, players get to collect water and carbon dioxide resources as income based on where their plant tokens are along the shoot and root tracks. Collect the amount of resources shown where your tokens are. It will be carbon dioxide on the shoot track and water on the root track. You should start with the person with the first player token and go clockwise, but you may end up choosing to resolve this phase simultaneously, letting everyone collect their income at the same time. Additionally, you might gain protein or add water to the central vacuole on the root track. Above, you might also be able to do a bonus photosynthesis action during the sunrise phase. Only gain the resources and bonuses shown in the banners. Lastly, players who have played cell component cards in front of them that have a shown sunrise bonus will get to resolve those in this step. Card and plant board bonuses are optional. Sunrise income and benefits can be collected in any order, and even let you use new benefits collected to pay for others, like the bonus photosynthesis action. The daytime phase happens after everyone's done resolving sunrise income and benefits. During the daytime, players take turns placing one of their available action markers on an available action space found on the main game board, and immediately take the action. Then they may optionally play one cell component card from their hand. Always start with the first player and proceed clockwise, doing one turn at a time. The first player token does not automatically move during the game. Continue this until everyone has placed all their action markers. Since more can be gained, sometimes other players have additional turns before the phase ends. The small rectangular action spaces on the board are for one action marker at a time. The larger action spaces allow for any number of players to go there. However, only one flask of each color can be placed in them. Usually this limits players to going there once in a round, but if you have a bonus gray action marker, you could potentially go to these spots a second time. There may also be card effects that let you do the action again. Some action spaces require you to pay a cost shown by a red number next to a resource. If you can't pay the cost, you can't place your marker there. I'll go through all the actions and how to play cards in just a bit. The evening phase is the final part of a round that happens after all players have placed all their action markers. This phase essentially helps to clean up the board and reset it for the next round. Again, you can follow along with the icons shown on the main game board or optionally use the reminder tokens. First, everyone takes all their action markers back to them from the game board. In a solo or two-player game, make sure each player also collects back one of the gray flasks. Any extra gray flasks that were used as a reward by players should return to the central vacuole. Next, you'll evaluate the central vacuole to see who has contributed the most water. You'll see the colored areas within the vacuole that correspond to the player colors. During the game, water can be placed in your color area here to try to have more than the others. Only players who have water in their area can win a reward. Whoever has the most now advances their central vacuole marker on the track and immediately scores the shown health points. If the marker is already at the end, they'll just get 2 points. Then that player removes all the water from their area, returning it to the general supply. Lastly, they gain a gray action marker for use in the next round. In a 4 to 5 player game, repeat these steps so a second player can also gain rewards for second place. Should there be a tie for the most water here, all rewards are earned for them, but they only take a gray action marker if there's enough for all the tied players to gain one. Ties always end the rewards that round. After handing out rewards, add 1 carbohydrate from the supply to the next empty space on the cell wall. No one scores the points. When adding any carbohydrates to the wall, always place them from left to right. If the final space of the wall is covered already or covered with this placement, the game is over. After adding a carbohydrate, reset the water level marker on its track. It goes back to either level 1, 2, or 3, which one depends on the last fully completed wall section. So at the start of the game, it goes to 5 until all the spaces are filled up to the level 2 icon. Then it would start going to 6 and so on for reaching level 3. The final part of the evening phase is to discard any cell component cards in the display in the first 2 spots. In a 4 or 5 player game, only remove the one in the first space if there is one. Slide any remaining cards left and replenish empty spaces from the deck. If the deck runs out, shuffle the discarded cards to make a new deck. As long as there are still empty spaces on the cell wall, continue to the sunrise phase of the next round. Now let's dive deeper into the main part of the game, the daytime phase, where you'll get to take actions on the board and play cards. Each of your turns, you must place one of your flasks to an available action space. Then you may choose to play a card from your hand. If you have no more action markers, your turn is skipped. So, what are all the actions on the board, and what do they do? At the Xylem action, you'll be able to collect water according to the current water level. Take the amount shown from the supply, then move the marker down one space. If the marker is at the bottom of the track already, no one can take the action anymore this round. After collecting the water, you are allowed to put up to 3 water into your region of the central vacuole. It can be from water you've already collected. The Stomata action below it lets you collect carbon dioxide. There's the single action space, which gives 6 carbon dioxide, or if that's taken, you must go to the large space and collect only 4. After taking the resources from the supply, also move the water level track down one space. Since this action doesn't actually give you water, you can still take the action if the water level marker is at the bottom of the track. At the Chloroplasts action, you get to convert 6 water and 6 carbon dioxide you've collected into a carbohydrate. The single marker action space lets you do this twice, so you'd turn in 12 of each and collect 2 carbohydrates. This icon is the photosynthesis icon, so anytime you see this on the boards or the cards, it means to pay the cost to make a carbohydrate. The cell wall action space lets you use one of the carbohydrates you've made to build the cell wall. Place one on the next available cell wall space from the left to right to earn the health points shown on the space. Score that immediately on the health point track around the board. The icon with the water and a +1 indicates you should put a water resource from the supply onto your region of the central vacuole. Once the cell wall is completed, this action cannot be taken, but your carbohydrates collected will still be worth 4 points each at the end of the game. At the mitochondria action, you'll get to convert a carbohydrate into ATP. There's only 2 single action spaces, one that gives 6 ATP and one that gives 5. When going here, you must pay one of your carbohydrates made. The ATP resource will be needed to go to some of the spaces on the shoot and root growth tracks on the plant board, or needed to play certain cell component cards. The ribosomes action lets you collect the protein resource. The single action space lets you gain 5, while the larger space gives you 3. Proteins are mostly used to play cell component cards. At the cytoplasm action, you'll get to collect plant growth hormones, which are needed to advance your plant growth markers on the plant board, increasing your income. The single action space gives you 3, while the large space gives you 2. The plasma membrane action is the place to advance one of your markers on the shoot or root tracks. There are 3 action spaces here. The top single one lets you advance on the shoot track, while the bottom one advances the root track. The large action space lets you choose which one to advance on, but costs you 1 protein to do it. Take a look at your markers on the plant board. The shoot track goes upwards and out, while the root track goes downwards and out. When advancing your marker, you can move it to the next connected space by paying the cost shown. Your markers can't go backwards, so it goes forwards and out, then stops on the leaf or end of a root. Any number of players can occupy a spot. The costs of a space are shown below it with the resource pictured and a red number on it. This must be paid back to the supply. Additionally, some spaces have an immediate bonus indicated by the orange exclamation mark. Take the bonus as soon as you move to it. The bonuses could be health points, resources, or a cell component card off the top of the deck. The income shown on the banners is not collected until the sunrise phase. At the nucleus action, there's only a single action space, and you must pay 1 carbon dioxide to go there. Then, you gain the first player marker to become the first player in the next round. Additionally, you get to draw a cell component card off the top of the deck. Note that the person with the first player marker can still take this action to secure it and gain a card. The last action spaces found on the game board is the Take Cell Component Card action. Place your action marker on the action space above the card you want to gain and pay any carbon dioxide amount shown. The first one is free. The empty spaces are not refilled until the evening phase. Placing action markers on these spots is the only way to gain these 4 cards in a round. Any benefit that shows the card icon always means to draw a card from the top of the deck. After placing your marker and taking a board action, you may play one cell component card from your hand. They sit face up in front of you for the rest of the game. Each card's cost is shown on the left of the card, with the resource icons and a red number shown. Pay what's shown to play the card. Only one card per turn, but you are allowed to play a card you just gained that turn. The immediate bonus of a card is shown at the bottom in a tan background. The number in the flower is the health points earned, which you should gain immediately. Starch cards let you draw the cards shown, then discard the number shown to a discard pile. Cards previously in your hand could be discarded. The Protein Storage Vacuole card benefit lets you retrieve one of your placed action markers from the board back to you. This effectively gives you an extra action to take in the round. Removing the flask also frees up possible action spaces on the board. Enzyme cards have all kinds of benefits on them when played, shown in the tan area of the card. The unique aspect of these cards is the activation ability of them, shown in the dark orange area at the bottom. When you play an enzyme card, you are allowed to pay to activate any number of already played enzyme cards to gain their activation bonus. The cost to activate a single enzyme bonus is 1 protein. So for example, if you play an enzyme card and have 5 already in front of you, you could pay 5 more protein to activate all of those. The other types of cell cards are specialization cards. These can provide ongoing benefits and in-game points. For example, the Aquaporin card lets you put 1 water from the general supply into the central vacuole during sunrise. The Seed Embryo lets you immediately use an action marker retrieved from the board when you play a PSV card. However, you can't play another card after this second consecutive action. Also, having 2 Seed Embryos does not let you place 2 action markers when playing a PSV. The Enzyme Production card lets you pay 1 protein during sunrise to activate one of your played enzyme cards, gaining its activation bonus. 1 enzyme can be activated per enzyme production card you have. The end of the game is triggered once the cell wall is complete during the cell wall step of the evening phase. So just filling the wall during the daytime actions doesn't end the game immediately. You'll still play out the full round. The central vacuole still scores for players before the game ends. After resolving the evening phase, players have the chance to play any number of cell component cards from their hands, paying the normal costs. However, abilities and benefits are ignored. All these will do is provide health points. To calculate final scores, add 4 points for each unused carbohydrate players have collected. Some specialization cell component cards also have in-game points, as shown with the flower icon. There are 5 different in-game scoring methods found on these cards. This one gives points equal to the amount of carbon dioxide you earn each sunrise. This one does the same, but for the amount of water collected during sunrise. This in-game scoring bonus gives you double the points shown where your token is sitting on the central vacuole track. This one scores you 2 points per protein storage vacuole card you've played during the game. The last one scores 1 point per enzyme card you've played. Other extra resources don't contribute any points. The player with the most points wins the game. In a tie, whoever is furthest on the central vacuole track wins. If still tied, whoever collects the most water during sunrise wins. If still tied, they share the victory. Cellulose provides 2 scenarios in the game to add variety and challenges and ways to play the game. It's not recommended to try these for your first game. To use a scenario, choose a scenario card and follow the setup steps and special gameplay instructions on it. Included are the cactus and mangrove scenarios. The cactus scenario highlights the features of the cactus family that lets them live in dry conditions. The water is scarce but very valuable. The mangrove scenario has you use the back side of the plant board. It's a mangrove plant and changes how players progress in the game. They have plenty of access to water, but it's brackish. When using the mangrove board and taking a root growth action, you may move your root growth marker freely along the root paths connecting spaces. This means they can go sideways between paths and even backwards throughout the game. The bottom 3 spaces of the root paths have powerful bonuses on them. Pay the hormone cost shown and move your marker there like normal. For example, the third one here gives you 7 points, The middle one lets you place 2 carbohydrates on the cell wall and add a water to your central vacuole, and the one on the left lets you activate all your enzymes without paying the proteins. After gaining the bonus, move your marker to one of the 3 top spaces of the roots with the blue targets on them. You can play Cellulose completely solo if you like, with the included solo rules. You play against an Automa opponent named Ivy. Your turns are done the same way, but Ivy's turns are determined by her deck of action cards. Ivy won't use the plant board either. Instead, she has her own growth track and strategy map on her mat. Additionally, she'll not gain any resources but water, carbon dioxide, and carbohydrates. When she is to gain cell component cards, add them to her face-up hand below her mat. The cards will be added to the right of existing ones. Usually, she plays the older cards first. Once she's played specialization cards that give bonuses, remember to take them when other players would. To set up the solo game, first decide on a difficulty to use, easy, medium, or hard. Set up the game like a normal 2-player game, and you will be the first player. Give Ivy a set of colored pieces and a gray flask, but no starting resources. Ivy won't place her markers on the plant board. Instead, use the mat for her showing the difficulty you want to use. Put one of the markers in the center space of the strategy map to be her strategy marker, and the other at the bottom space of her growth track. To build her action deck, first separate the cards into 3 types, indicated by the single line, double line, or square icons. Shuffle just the single line cards and use that as her starting action deck. To play against her on hard, give her 2 specialization cards on different strategy map axes. So 1 card for growth or enzyme strategy, and 1 card for the PSV or central vacuole strategy. The cards can be selected or randomized. Put her 2 cards in play and adjust her map, moving the marker in the appropriate direction. Let me explain more on the strategy map. It's a 5x5 grid that determines her strategic playstyle. The marker starts in the middle and will move to track her progress among 4 potential strategies, as shown by the colored bands on the edges. When she gains a PSV card, move her marker to the right toward the protein storage vacuole strategy. When Ivy scores health points for the central vacuole reward track, move her marker left towards that strategy 1 space for each point. When Ivy moves up her growth track and covers an arrow, then move her marker upwards once towards that growth track strategy side of the grid. When Ivy gains an enzyme card, move her marker down on the grid towards the enzyme strategy. Specialization cards will move her marker to the corresponding direction in one of these strategies. Seed embryo cards move it right, aquaporins move it left, enzyme production goes down, and the other 2, cytokinin and gibberellin receptors, move the marker upwards. Anytime her strategy marker reaches one of the colored band spaces on the outer edge, she has chosen that particular strategy for the rest of the game. It will never move out of that region. At that point, it can still move within the colored band, but never move out of it. When her marker is in one of the 4 corners, she'll be able to do either of those strategies. The icons on her cards indicate her strategy by highlighting one of the 4 edges of the square printed. When she gains any strategy, take the set aside action card with the matching strategy icon and add it to her discard pile. If playing a medium or hard game, Ivy gains some additional bonuses when gaining a strategy. With the PSV strategy, give her 2 points for each of her PSV cards during in-game scoring. With the central vacuole strategy, she adds 2 water to the central vacuole each sunrise. By gaining the enzyme strategy, immediately draw cards from the deck until you reveal 2 enzyme cards. Put these in her play area to be activated by future enzymes played. Shuffle the other drawn cards back into the deck. When Ivy gains the growth track strategy, she will take the build cell wall action if possible after receiving any sunrise benefits each round. Ivy's growth track is on her mat, where she goes upwards when doing growth actions. Going up this track doesn't cost her resources. Each step gains her a bonus or 2. The 3rd and 4th levels of her track give her 6 water or 6 carbon dioxide, whichever one she has less of. If tied, she takes water. These levels also have arrows on them, which make her strategy marker move upwards that many spaces on her strategy map. In order for Ivy to reach the top level of this track, she must have chosen the hormone strategy. During Ivy's daytime phase turns, she'll draw the top action card from her deck. Of course, if she's out of flasks to use, she won't. When the deck runs out, shuffle the discards to make a new deck. Look at the actions in the bars on the card. Ivy does the topmost action she's able to do using her available resources and action markers. Some actions have conditions to do them. If unable to do any actions on the card, draw another card for her. After successfully completing an action from her card, she can play a cell component card. I'll explain how that works in a bit. All of the actions found on her cards are explained only in icons, so to reference what they each do, I recommend keeping the rulebook open to the page that has them all listed. I won't describe each here because you can look up the ones you need as you go. However, you may see one of these 3 conditional icons, which are requirements to be met for the action to be able to happen. This one, with the highlighted bar and square, means to only take that action if Ivy has chosen that strategy. Check the side of the square with Ivy's strategy map. If multiple strategies are shown on the condition, she'll only do an action for the one she has. So with this action, she'll draw a specialization card matching one of her strategies. This condition icon means to take the action only if Ivy has a cell component card of the type shown in her hand. This last conditional icon means to only take the action if Ivy has fewer than 4 cell component cards in her hand. Her action deck starts with just the level 1 action cards. As soon as the first section of the cell wall is complete, add all the level 2 action cards into her discard pile. Lastly, whenever Ivy chooses a new strategy by moving on to that edge of her map, add one of the matching action card types to her discard pile. This is how her deck builds during the game. As I said before, Ivy can play 1 cell component card from her hand after her action on her turn. However, she won't play any cards at all until the first section of the wall is built. Then, she'll start playing component cards from her hand. The hand is always face up, with the oldest cards on the left and the newest cards on the right. The bottom of some action cards tell Ivy to play a particular type of card. If she has it and can afford to do it, she'll play it after her action. If there's multiple cards she could play, always choose the oldest one in her hand. When an action card has 2 options shown for which type of card to play, she'll prefer to do the top type if possible, bottom if not. Move her played cards to the top of her mat to show they've been played. The played enzyme cards are recommended to stack vertically on the left to keep the activations visible. Ivy has special cost modifications for playing each type of card. To play a starch card, she always pays 2 carbohydrates and gains 12 points. Then draw her a cell component card. She'll pay 6 water to play a PSV card, giving her 4 points. Then return the action marker she just used this turn back to her. Ivy gets to play enzymes for free and earns any health points shown. Then she gets to do the immediate bonus if possible. After playing an enzyme card, she'll activate some number of already played cards. See the number shown in the puzzle piece. Look for the bottommost enzyme card's activation benefit that she can use. Activate it and move it to the top of her stack. Repeat this process for as many as told to activate. Each enzyme card can only be activated once each turn, however. Ivy plays specialization cards for free, but ignores their abilities. Instead, she only scores the endgame points for them at the end of the game. The gibberellin and cytokinin receptor cards always score 6 in-game health points. Otherwise, score her points normally as if a real player. Keep the rulebook handy and check BoardGameGeek.com for FAQs and extra content. The Meeple Mentor channel is now part of the board game community, the Gateway Network, made up of great upcoming board game content creators. The network includes Instagrammers, podcasters, YouTubers, artists, and much more. Head to thegatewaynetwork.com to support new and independent board gamers. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. Like and subscribe if you found this teaching helpful. Stick around to watch another Learn to Play video. And remember, teach when you can, but always be learning. See you next time.